Sex workers have denounced the UK banks for waging war on their jobs. We're going to read into this more from the Financial Times, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the Financial Times with the headline of Sex Workers Denounce the UK Banks for Waging War on Their Jobs. Campaigners say debanking and financial exclusions increase vulnerability to criminals and traffickers. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share it across social media so others are notified of this video. So there is certain... I can understand why people would think that this is a bit of a grey area for this kind of industry. Now obviously we don't have like there's certain activities of certain sex work that we don't allow obviously in the UK, but some of the consensual work, as long as it's consensual, is perfectly okay. And one of the issues on this story that we're going to be talking about is that this is a job and it still pays their bills, but they're not allowed to open a bank account because they are a sex worker. Now, I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right that because it's still a job to them, they make money off it. And as long as they are consensual and the person and the client that they have is consensual with it, why can this not be something that's perfectly legitimate, perfectly all right, that is considered all right within the laws of the UK? Why can they not have a bank account because of that kind of work, which is a very unusual thing that I don't understand why banks have this issue. So it is a sort of grey area. So let me read a bit more into this so you guys get a better understanding of this story and what it's about. The campaigners say debanking and financial inclusions increases vulnerability to criminals and traffickers. So let's read a bit into it. So when Barclays Bank froze Becky Webster's account, cutting off access to her son's state benefit payments over a week last year, it was the 15th time that the former NHS worker turned full-time escort had been refused a bank account or had one closed down. In frustration, she launched a petition calling on MPs to ensure that people who work in the sex industry can access banking service. It gathered more than 11,000 signatories. I've applied for a bank account, a business account, and as soon as I get to what's your occupation, I put the sex industry. It just won't let me carry on, said Webster, adding, So you want me to pay taxes, but you want to take bank accounts off me? ? Of course we want them to pay their taxes, but why can't we do it through the... Yeah, this is just straight away. It's like that question right there, that statement right there, just is like, huh? Like, she's happy to pay her taxes and contribute, to the economy, for the work that she does, but she's not allowed to have a bank account because of the occupation she does. Webster's campaign comes as concerns mount over whether lenders are unfairly denying groups access to financial services. The debanking issue was highlighted last year around politician Nigel Farage, whose account was closed by private bank Coutts, but affected thousands of ordinary people and businesses. Now, let's just be very, very clear about Nigel Farage. He had less than £1 million, so that's why his Coutts account was closed. He now has that money back, so he could open one again if he wanted to. But it was a whole faffle over nothing, really, that one, on him in particular. So the Parliamentary Committee found earlier this year that more than 1,400 businesses had their accounts closed by the country's biggest bank last year. The Financial Conduct Authority, the regulator, is now conducting a review of account closures. Although soliciting, sex work and brothel-keeping are illegal in England and Wales, selling and purchasing sexual services between consenting adults is permitted. Around 72,800 people are thought to earn money by selling sexual services or performances in the UK, 88% of whom are women. According to the English Collective for Prostitute, a campaign group, government estimates the number of sex workers range from 60,000 to 80,000. Research by the Sex Workers Union and campaign group Durham Now found more than 80% of SW members have experienced some form of financial discrimination. This comes as they are increasingly reliant on online payments as the use of cash declines. We found a consistent lack of knowledge and understanding among banks around how sex industries work in the UK, resulting in widespread banking discrimination against sex workers, said another charity, National Ugly Mugs, the NUM. And sex work industry workers in the UK also have to pay income tax on their earnings. A HMRC insider said it was impossible to reliably estimate the number who are registered with the tax authorities because the code they filed under covers a broad range of institutions. So it needs to be more simplified then. They need to simplify it. Webster says the hurdles that she has faced in accessing financial services are particularly unfair given that she is registered as a sole trader and pays taxes. There needs to be a definitive, you need to simplify it for exactly for what they are. They are sex workers. Well, then why the question I have is, why are banks denying this? Like, if the banks were like asking lots and lots of questions about this, that would be completely understandable because of the kind of work they have. But just outright shunning them can lead them down to, lead down to obviously trafficking and whatnot down that path. But relying on other people, to open up their bank accounts and whatnot, it's not a very safe thing. Banks say they have a responsibility to monitor and stop the processes of financial crime, including sex trafficking. Trade body UK Finance said the decision to freeze or close accounts will often link to risk management and regulatory obligations. While banking the proceeds of sex workers is not a criminal offence, the potential related risks are very high, says a spokesperson for the trade body. Lenders will make a decision about this based on their own risk appetite, but only after extensive review and investigation, the person added. But activists said that blocking sex workers' access to financial services, including current and business accounts, can make them more vulnerable to financial exploitation, leaving them at higher risk of theft and pushing them towards online platforms such as OnlyFans that take a cut of their earnings. A lot of the sex workers now have moved to the likes of OnlyFans because it's so much easier for them to make money off that platform. Obviously, but the problem is if you work for an industry like that, just like I'm working for as a YouTuber, they take a percentage of your cut. That's how it works. But OnlyFans is a much safer industry than the sex workers. That is categorically true. No, now I'm not saying that these sex workers should switch to OnlyFans, but it is definitely something that that I would recommend sex workers use as an alternative if they are struggling to do well until this is resolved. This is something that they should turn to as an alternative to help with their financial income, since obviously they can't as to help with it. But I can also understand it. I can understand their point of view, but I can also understand the bank's point of view of the vulnerabilities of it as well, sort of thing. It is life-threatening to sex workers to lose their bank accounts, says Jessa Van Meer, the co-founder of Mint, an online sex content platform, and researcher of sex workers' rights at Harvard University. When someone cannot have a bank account to hold their money independently, they are more likely to rely on a third party to hold their money for them, such as a partner who potentially then could abuse or exploit them, she added. And this is where the exploration can happen, because that particular person, because of the kind of work, that particular work that they are doing, because they're not allowed to have their own bank account, because of the kind of work they're doing, means that they really rely on someone else to hold that money for them. Now, some people may have that, but because this is the kind of work that they're doing, there's not many people in that kind of industry, in the sex industry, that will have a partner that is someone that will have a partner, and especially a partner they can trust their finances that they earn from. So it's a bit harder on that point of view. There is also evidence that people working in adjacent legal industries are facing financial discrimination. Dukram now said sex educators, therapists and artists are being caught up in banking's war on sex due to banks' automatic analysis and opaque risk assessments. Van Meer said she has struggled to open a business bank account from her startup, a VC-backed online adult content creation platform. As a result, she is reliant on more lightly regulated e-money institutions. Yeah, because it's adult content creation. In its response to Webster's petition, Treasury last month said it was taking measures to protect bank customers, including increasing the minimum notice that banks must give before closing an account from 2 months to 90 days, to requiring lenders to expand their decision for more detail. A person familiar with the FDA's work said the watchdog had met dozens of consumer groups as part of its probe into account closures, including representatives of the sex industry. The regulator declined to comment. We need financial authorities to stop conflicting sex and sex work with criminality and reinforcing the isolation and marginalisation already facing sex workers, said Audrey Canalina, a Dicrum Now representative. The current laws and stigma surround sex works are what create the supposed risk for financial institutions. Barclays had declined to comment on it as well, because it was Barclays that I believe she was trying to initially, the lady in the story was initially trying to gain the account from. Now, whether you agree or disagree with the sex worker industry, and you could be someone that thinks that this kind of industry should not be happening, we should not be appealing to that or whatnot, but it is still a job to these people, to the majority of whom are women. It is still money to them, income to them that helps them get by. Whether you agree or disagree with it, it's obviously, I understand why there's the sensitivity of the issue of those being exploited, and it could be seen that those who set up bank accounts could be doing it not in turn. They could be doing it in the terms of not actually for themselves, but perhaps for a third party or someone else that actually has influence over them. And I can totally understand that cause for concern. However, those who are working on their own, having a very difficult time, they should be entitled to some kind of bank account. They should have something like that. And I think they should be allowed at least to go through some rigorous steps to ensure that they and be able to answer some very serious questions that the bank should ask them before, and then if they pass certain tests, they should be allowed to have a bank account open. I think that's what they should do, not outright just deny these sex workers a right a bank account. They should be going through perhaps some kind of regulation checks or whatnot from the bank side to make sure that these sex workers are actually doing it, and it's consensual work that they are doing, just to be absolutely sure. Obviously, how can you regulate that? It's very, I can understand the argument. How can you regulate that? You know, they're taking word for mouth. Okay, I get that. But, I'm also thinking about the vulnerability of these people. And yes, some of them have turned, to OnlyFans. But like I said, just like what I'm doing now, this job, YouTube takes a cut of it, just like OnlyFans does take a cut of it. But these sex workers, some of them don't want to go to OnlyFans because they don't want to give the money that they make to OnlyFans. They want to take all the money that they earn from their work going into their account. And literally, the woman said in there, like, she wants to pay her tax, and she doesn't want to be avoiding tax or anything like that. She doesn't want to be a tax dodger or anything. But if she's not going to be able to set up a bank account, it makes it more difficult for her to be able to pay her taxes. So I do think it's maybe it's not on the higher echelons of issues, but it is an issue and one that should be discussed. One MPs should have a general debate about at some point in Parliament in the future. I definitely think they need to have. But honestly, guys, I want to know what you think about this situation. What do you think about sex workers? What do you think about them in the UK or in other places in general? And how do banks know that this in other countries, if you're from, how do banks know that these sex workers are actually doing it legitimately for them and not being abused by potential third party or being pimped out, that kind of stuff? How do you know that those sex workers are perfectly all right? What's your take on that? What's your take on some of them going towards OnlyFans instead of actually being sexual workers, giving that cut to OnlyFans because obviously they can't do it on the streets? Let me know what you guys' thoughts about this and more in the comments section down below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope to catch you all very, very soon.